Hello. This demo is aimed at .NET application developers looking to get started with the IDOL Induction.NET SDK. This SDK allows you to integrate induction functionality such as entity extraction into your .NET application or workflow. The SDK was first available in version 12.6 for Windows, but in 12.7 we've added support for Linux as well. I'm going to show you how to build one of our included sample applications on a Linux machine, though the steps are essentially the same on Windows, and I'll point out the differences. You will need a .NET installation available, such as .NET Core 3.1. I've downloaded the Induction SDK zip onto this machine and extracted it, and I've also copied on my license key that I'll need for running the Induction program. So if I open the package, as you can see we've got a number of samples. We're going to build the Induction from config example, the .NET. Building the sample .NET application is as simple as a .NET publish command. Specifying the release identifier for the target machine, in this case Linux. If you're building on Windows, this will be a slightly different platform string. And this, by default, generates a debug configuration executable. You can change that by specifying a configuration with the publish command, but this will do for demonstration purposes. Before we can run the program, we will need access to the Induction shared library as well, which is part of the SDK package. On Linux, we do this by exporting an LD library path. On Windows, this would be setting a path instead. So now let's run the program just to see without any arguments. So this tells us our sample program needs 4 arguments: a config file, a document to be processed, the license key, and an output path. So with our samples, we ship some sample test data. So in this case, we've got our config will run a simple toy grammar, which is looking for pairs of words. In addition, there's a post-processing script hooked in, so it's only going to try and find short words. Our input text looks like this, and we're hoping to extract these pairs of short words at the end. So let's run the program. So that program has run. We've successfully performed extraction. We've generated an output file. And if we look at it, we can see that we've successfully extracted the matches that we were expecting to see. Let's look at the sample application in a bit more detail. So here's the project file for the application. And you can see that we reference the Induction.NET assembly. The path depends on a variable, and by default, when you unzip the package, this path will be correct to find the library. In fact, we ship both a Net Standard 2.0 version of the assembly, which should be compatible with the majority of .NET installations, though if you have a particularly old version of .NET, then you may need to use the Net Standard 1.1 version, but we would generally recommend Net Standard 2.0 if possible. What does our actual sample code look like? So here's the main body of the example. We first create a text extraction engine, which configures the engine with all of the settings from the config. And then from that engine, we create a text extraction session into which we'll feed the data that we want to extract things from. You can create multiple sessions from a single engine. So we prepare some data input by opening a file stream and prepare to write the output somewhere. We add the file data to the session by using the setInputStream function, so it's ready to start processing. Then we can iterate over all of the matches from the session, so this is where the majority of the processing work happens. And for each match that we get, there can be additional match component information, which again we can extract from each match by iterating over those components. We're making use of the .NET using keyword, so as we leave the scope of each of these code blocks, any associated resources that we've opened are automatically closed so we don't leak anything. For further information on how to use the Eduction.NET SDK, please consult the .NET API reference, which ships as part of the package. This describes general SDK usage, our approach to resource management, some details about the example programs that we ship, and the full API references of the classes and structures used by the SDK. For more general Eduction information, please consult the Eduction SDK programming guide, and all of this and that programming guide is available from microfocus.com/documentation/idle.